This video is not for whales and dolphins. It's for you, because you are just like me. Average That Gamer here, and today I want to talk about Anomaly Zone 0. I mean, Zenless Zone Anomaly. Because yesterday, Hoyo released the drip marketing for Miyabi, and it's Anomaly confirmed. And did you know that 4 out of the 7 characters by the time that we get to Miyabi, if she's on the second half of the banner, will have been Anomaly characters? Now, just quick tangent, it could be the second or the first half because they've kind of proved that the existing pattern means nothing by holding back the Miyabi drip, and this could be the start of a new pattern, potentially. Firstly though, as much as it feels like it's non-stop Anomaly, depending on your outlook, this might not be such a bad thing, because if you've been investing into Anomaly characters so far, it kind of just means that you're going to be able to add more Anomaly characters in. And this is a pretty reductive statement, but Anomaly does tend to work well with other Anomaly. Now, more specifically, different types of Anomaly tend to work well with other different types of Anomaly. So Bernice being like an off-field Anomaly applier is good with an on-field Anomaly applier like Jane or Yanagi. So we'll talk more about what that means for Miyabi in a moment. But first, yes, she's Anomaly, but we also got something else which is pretty exciting, which is the element. So the element here looks like nothing that we've seen before. And by looks like nothing, it does look maybe the most like the ice logo, but it's not just ice, clearly. So I imagine it's ice plus something, and this is pretty interesting. Or it could be its whole new thing. But I do think that that seems really unlikely. I don't think it's going to be an entirely new thing, because if it was an entirely new element, then we'd need specific characters that buff that particular element. So it's very unlikely that it's like a whole new element, but I imagine it most likely works with a bunch of different elements, including ice and maybe fire, because that's like the closest thing that it looks like is maybe a combination of ice and fire. And I imagine though that it might work with those elements and potentially more and enable more reactions. Now, at the moment in the game, we just have disorder. So, you know, this is all speculation at this point, but what if Miyabi enables something other than disorder? What if it's, you know, when you mix 2 different elements, particularly ice and fire, maybe it causes some kind of melt reaction or something along those lines? I don't know. Am I cooking? Is that crazy? We'll see. Then we also have the fact that the element looks to me a little bit like, if you half it, similar to a lotus flower, which lotus flowers represent purity, resilience, and rebirth. And the true meaning is different depending on your culture, but lotus flowers are generally associated with being a good thing. They're a good sign. And I think that, you know, particularly the rebirth thing kind of makes sense to me, because we're going to be getting 1.4 following a lot of hype for 1.4 because of all of the changes that are due to be coming in 1.4. We're going to be able to walk around as our agents. They've told us about other things that are planned to come for 1.4. So there's a whole bunch of quality of life improvements for 1.4. It kind of makes sense that 1.4 would be almost a soft reboot for the game. So lotus flowers meaning rebirth kind of makes sense to me. I also had another theory that maybe her elemental logo actually represents something else entirely, and maybe she works completely differently to other characters, and maybe it's an element that's associated to her faction, so Section 6. This would mean that she'd be the glue that holds Section 6 together, because they don't really seem to be that connected in terms of their typing. Okay, so this is my last thought on element, and this one might be taking it a little bit too far, but maybe she can take any buff from any particular type of agent. So in my head, I'd be thinking that maybe she can take any buff from any support, and that's her agent type. So as long as she's paired with a support, she triggers her core passive, and then that way she can take the buff from any, even if they're not directly related to her agent type. So she could take Rena's, she could take Cole's, she could take Lucy, and then when we eventually get a limited S rank support, they'll be absolutely insane with Miyabi. And I know that one is kind of a little bit out there, but I'm just spitballing here because we genuinely have no idea, and it could be anything. And Hoyo, if you're listening, let me in, let me cook. Okay, so we're going to move on and talk about her playstyle, but just before that, this is your reminder that you're probably not subscribed. Liking and subscribing is the best way to support small creators like me on YouTube. You can also follow me on Twitch and join the Discord if you want to hang out with some cool, chill peeps. So moving on to the playstyle then. So the main thing to consider here is with Anomaly characters, as I mentioned earlier, that they are either off-field Anomaly characters like Bernice or on-field hypercarry characters like Jane and kind of like Yanagi. So in terms of what I would expect for Miyabi to be, we have had 2 out of the 3 so far be hypercarry style agents, and we've had 1 be an off-field anomaly applier in Bernice. So it would make the most sense for the meta of the game for Miyabi to be an off-field anomaly applier. But I don't think Hoyo are going to do it like that. I think that what they'll do is they will probably make her an on-field hypercarry style character, because people pull for their Miyabi, they want to run their Miyabi, they want to play as their Miyabi. So I can't really see her being an off-field character unless, and I really hope this isn't something that I'm manifesting by saying it, unless she's an off-field character at M0 and then can turn into an on-field hypercarry at M1 or M2. So requiring additional investment in order for you to be playing her more frequently. I also imagine as well that because of Yanagi being in Section 6, that we would expect for Miyabi to work well with her, and Yanagi does like field time. Now, it is possible that you could run both Yanagi and Miyabi if they were on-field hypercarry characters, much like you can run Yanagi and Jane right now. However, I don't think that that would be as good as running Yanagi with Bernice, because then Yanagi can stay on field, and Bernice gets the fire application from off-field. So I guess we're moving on to talk about teams. So we've already started talking about Yanagi, and I do think that this potentially improves Yanagi's standing in the game. I think that this is good for her. I think that whether or not Miyabi is an on-field or off-field character, she will work well with Yanagi. I think it would work a lot better if she was off-field, but I also don't think that that'll be what we get. Then let's think about the other Section 6 teammates. So we have Sukaku. Sukaku is a buffer for ice. So I would expect that she works well with Miyabi, but I'm not sure if she'll be best in slot. It would make sense, but I think we've got other characters that maybe might be able to do better, particularly because we're not tying Miyabi down to just the ice element, which brings us on nicely to talking about Lighter. So Lighter, from the details of his kit so far, seems to be buffing both fire and ice elements. Now, here's where I'm probably going off the deep end and tinfoil hat time, but potentially, what if Lighter buffs both fire and ice independently, and Miyabi is kind of like a dual element fire and ice? So this then means that Lighter's buffs could in theory stack. So it remains to be seen, and we need to see more on Lighter's kit and see if that would be possible depending on the wording. Honestly, I do doubt it. I don't think that they would make it that good, but it is weird that he's running in the middle of Section 6 and not with his Sons of Kaladin teammates. Lastly then, moving on to Haramasa, who is the last of the Section 6 teammates. I kind of think that he might be not that useful for her. I think Sukaku and Yanagi will both find their place in Miyabi teams, and they might not be best in slots, etc., but they will work well with her. You'd also expect Section 6 to work well with her. But unless Miyabi has some kind of crazy deal with her element, that means that she works really well with electric characters, which isn't outside the realms of possibility, I don't think that she'll work particularly well with Haramasa at this point. Again, could be totally wrong, but from what we know right now, probably not on the Haramasa front. Lastly, I just want to mention as well that there is a logo on her drip marketing, in addition to the element stuff, that looks like the logo for what's referred to as Voidhunters. This was from a lore trailer that dropped, I think, before the game came out. And during that trailer, it basically ran through a bunch of characters who I'm assuming will be coming at some point, and it referred to them as Voidhunters. Also within that lore trailer, there was mention of a 3rd generation head of the Hashimi family referred to as Swordmaster, and they look kind of a bit like Miyabi. So it's safe to assume that this logo is in reference to the fact that Miyabi is indeed a Voidhunter, whatever that means. I think it might be the Genshin equivalent of like an Archon or something along those lines, and the very fact that we have 7 means that it's going to take us a while to get through. And then just very quickly before we wrap up, I do want to mention that I was right in my previous video. And by right, I mean that I threw so many theories at the wall that potentially one of them had to be right. I did mention in that video that what they're going to do is wait on the Miyabi drip marketing a couple of days into Yanagi's banner and then drop it, so all the gooners done gooned everywhere. and they can then make the most buck from Miyabi's banner. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. If you're interested, another video of mine should pop up now. Also, apologies if this video feels a little fast. I kind of rattled through some of the points quickly, just yap in here without a script because I'm really keen to get my thoughts out on Miyabi. I might have missed things, and if so, then I'll go back and potentially make another video. As always, remember to like and subscribe for better than average luck on your pulls, pull responsibly, and stay weird. Bye, 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 bye.